I was like 17 years old. Like that was how mental I was. I never did anything like that again because it was like fucking insane. But I actually won my very first best painted at the Calgary Grand Tournament in 2003, I think, with that army. And I ended up winning the Games Workshop staff tournament with that army as well because it was just so broken. All right, so now I've got way too much water here, but that's okay. So I'm just kind of getting this wet. Now these are the newer transfer sheets, which means like as soon as you get them slightly wet, the transfer should come up. Now the last thing I have is this guy. This is a makeup sponge. You can get a pack of these for like $6 or $7 on Amazon. Highly recommend you get these guys. They're really, really useful for all sorts of things, but I'm going to show you how nice they are for transfers. So first thing I'm going to do is take my microsol. And I'm going to take just a little bit of microsol on my brush. And I'm just going to paint it onto the shoulder pad that I want the transfer. Okay, just like that. So just painting it on the shoulder pad. I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, so paint it on the shoulder pad like this. Then I'm going to take my transfer, my brush. Okay, place it there. Make sure it's centered. Okay, so it's centered. You can see, guys, it's like not, you can see how it's like not flat, right? It's like kind of just sitting there. Don't worry about that right now, okay? We'll come back to that. I'm going to repeat this process really quickly for all the rest. So, little microsol. Little transfer. Oh, shit. Come on. Oh, that one's backwards. What's it doing? Sorry. Okay, put that in place. Kind of repeat this process. And usually I'll do 5 at a time here just because of like, I don't want this like to get too ahead of myself. Little microsol, put my transfer. And again, you can see here, it's like very, very like, it's not, it's like, it's very crooked. It's not even sticking down to the model. That's okay. Microsol. Transfer. Just put it where, kind of essentially where you want it. This is the time to adjust it, guys. Okay. And then I'll do one more. And I'll kind of do these in 2 batches. So microsol, transfer. Okay, so then now that these are all adjusted, just like that, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back with my microsol and I'm gonna paint on top with a little bit of microsol. So just like this. So brushing with microsol. Let's see here. Let's see, come on, focus. Okay, well, it's okay. Brush some microsol. Brush some microsol. I usually don't use the autofocus, guys, but since I'm kind of doing a bunch of stuff, I'm using it, but maybe I'll just shut it off. It's kind of annoying. Let's see here. Manual zoom. Okay. So microsol. All right, now while those, I put on microsol on those, while those are doing their thing, I'm actually gonna start the next little batch. So microsol here, grab a transfer. Because you want the microsol to give it a bit of time to soften the transfer. Microsol here. Come on, sometimes the transfers fold in on themselves, so. Also, I would recommend before you do this, you either gloss varnish the shoulder pad. So these models have already been varnished. And obviously they've been varnished like fucking 6 years ago when I painted them. So They don't really need another varnish, but if these are still like in the painting stage, I would recommend gloss varnishing the shoulder pads. That's just gonna help make sure that like the microsol doesn't take up any paint, and also like that there's a smooth surface for them the transfers to adhere to. So it's not necessary, but I just find it helps a little bit with the sticking. Okay, I don't know why, but that's only 9 of them. Where's that damn transfer sheet? Why would they only have 9 in that row? I guess 1,000 cents, that makes sense. Okay, let me get one more. Get in the water. All right, so while that's doing its thing, now I'm gonna go in with my sponge, okay? So I'm gonna go in with my sponge here. I'm gonna make sure my transfer is exactly where I want it. Like that. And then I'm gonna take my makeup sponge and I'm gonna push it like that, and I'm gonna press against that. Now, the nice thing about the sponge is it's gonna conform to the shape of the pad, and that's gonna push the transfer on the pad. So now look at the pad, look at the transfer. It's literally seamless. It's perfectly molded to the roundness of the pad. So same thing, take my sponge, push down. Okay. Again, look at that. Now, because the sponge kind of perfectly forms around it, it kind of compresses it perfectly to the roundness of the pad. So make sure it's in the right spot before you do this though. And this way, like, you don't have to kind of get in there with a brush. So just hold that there for a second. Perfect. So look at that transfer. It's perfect. Completely seamless. And this obviously works for any transfers. And then what you can do is you just kind of rub it with the sponge, and that'll take out any sort of wrinkles as well. Just like that. And sometimes I'll repeat this process where I'll hit the microsol again. So let's go here. Hold it there. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna microsol the top of these. So then, gonna put this one on. Little microsol on top. Again, like literally one brushful does like half this whole unit. Like you barely use this stuff. It's like it's like a really good investment. Okay, so then I'm gonna do that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back with my microsol and I'm gonna do this again. So one more time, I'm gonna put microsol on the top of these ones that I've already finished. Just a little bit. Just like that. That's gonna soften it some more. And then I'm gonna repeat that process one more time. And what that's gonna do is gonna really smooth it out. And then I just go in with a brush and I just kind of pull out any sort of air bubbles. Okay, so let's go into here. Hold that down. Okay, perfect. Every time. 100% of the time, every time. So that's why I'd really recommend getting one of these sponges. They're really, really helpful. I usually use a paper towel for this, but I found that it obviously doesn't conform to the curve of the shoulder pad as well, and it would stick off into the transfer. The sponge doesn't do that. So sometimes I even get a little water on the sponge. So it's a little wet. That way it won't stick at all to the transfer. Now, I would recommend, if you're doing the shoulder pads separate, or sorry, the backpacks, leave the backpacks off because it does make this a little bit easier. It's sometimes hard to reach, like this one's a little bit hard to reach with because of the backpack. but it's good. Okay, so now these ones are done. I'm gonna do that just one more time. And this time I'm really gonna kind of push it. Shit, backpack fell off. Great. That actually makes my life easier. So by kind of pushing it like this, it'll smooth it out, any kind of last bits. All right, so that's that. I'm actually gonna rip this backpack off for this. All right, a little bit more microsol on these ones. And that's it, guys. So like I just did that unit of 10. That was super, super seamless. Didn't take any effort, wasn't struggling, wasn't sitting there fucking fighting the creases. You know, it's just very, very simple. Just in and out. Guys, these guys' models I've used so little that they're fucking dusty. Can you believe it? I mean, who would have thought I would barely use rubric greens, except everyone, because they sucked for so long. Okay, so now all I'm gonna do, let's glue that backpack on. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna hit them with some matte varnish and that whole unit on the shoulders, just to kind of seal it in fully, and then the unit's done. So that's simple for Waterslide Transfers. Obviously, you can do this for anything. It's not necessarily for flat surfaces, like to use the sponge, but I mean, I wouldn't shy against it. Like, it's still helpful. And you can do this with any shape transfer as well. So on the banner on my Noise Marines, I don't know if you guys noticed, I had a kind of a bunch of really small writing. Those are actually Waterslides Transfers that I used. And it was like a really weird shaped banner. So I got it really soft and then I pressed it in and it kind of fully conformed to the, and then you just use my sponge to clean up this water. Boom. And that's it. Easy peasy chicken squeezy. All right, let's get out of here. Okay, cool. So now all I'm gonna do is grab a little bit of matte varnish just on my shitty ass palette here. Just a little bit of matte varnish, 2 or 3 drops, and just straight from the bottle. Same with the same old brush. Paint over them. That's gonna really kind of that's gonna hide the lines and the shine, and you're gonna make it basically fit right into the rest of the model. Like it's painted on. That's it, guys. So that's Waterslide Transfers 101. If you've been struggling with them, I would highly recommend that's how you do them for shoulder pads. So let me know what you guys are working on in the paint. Sorry, in the chat. All right, so these are gonna go aside, and let's build a Forge Fiend. Also, let me know if you guys want to have any Q&A, want to chat about anything. Otherwise, I'm just going to shoot the shit, talk nonsense. Just going to turn on my air conditioner 1 sec.